Biggest surprise from Division B, Team Envyus struggling, Splyce should consider a change, and who will be the dark horse at Birmingham? Sounds like we got ourselves a juicy episode. Benson, Maven, let's trade some shots. It's time for First Blood. Division B is done, and so is the regular season of Stage 1. Taking a look at the final standings of Division B, FaZe Clan, it reigns supreme. LG, Envy, United make it to playoffs. Unilad, Splyce advance to Stage 2, and Evil Geniuses and Epsilon, they'll be heading to relegation. Knowing what we know from watching the final weeks and knowing the final standings, what was the biggest surprise from Division B? Maven, you may have won last week, but Epsilon told you to shut up with not only one, but 2 wins last week. So Benson, you stood behind him. You're going to get the first crack. So Benson, give me your big surprise.
Not quite sure how that worked out, but I'll take it, and that's what counts. I think we learned a lot of stuff, and there was a fair amount of surprises at Division B. I think there's a lot of different answers to this question as well, but for me, I'm going to go with maybe a bit of a negative one. EG collapsed. They went into the final week with playoffs right here in their hand. It was theirs to take, and they threw it away, and they did so in crazy fashion. They lose to Epsilon, a team at that point with no wins in the league. They then proceeded to lose every other important game, including a game to avoid relegation. They went from almost a guaranteed playoff spot to getting relegated. That's just not good enough. The talent on that squad, I mean, they know it. I don't need to say it. It's pathetic.
Ben, I kind of agree with what you're saying. It really was. I think the other side of it, though, is probably what surprised me the most. You know, with as bad as E United had been playing in the first couple weeks, and all the turmoil they went through, to see them go on the run through what they had to beat FaZe, EG, Splyce to get in, I got to a point, I was doubting this team so much, and after Clay melted down, I actually lost a little bit of faith in Clay and this squad. By God was I reminded in this final week that he is one of the most clutch players, has the most heart of any player in this league. And the fact this team put it together, I mean, Pristini was second-guessing every single thing he did. He crushes in that final series against Splyce. Silly, who rarely has good maps as of late, crushes in that game 1 for the league. Everyone stood up. Everyone had an impact. RC's was a beast in search. Clay was a beast in every mode. I was surprised because how poorly they had been playing, and mostly coming into the week, Ben, they were sitting in 7th out of the 8 teams. They were the least likely to get a spot mathematically. The fact they did it, yes, they needed some help from the EG collapse, but still, it's wild to me.
Funny, we both kind of picked the opposite kind of train of thought there. But one thing, just to touch on your point, for me, United, it was tremendous. It really was. You can't give them enough credit. A phenomenal storyline for them to come back. You mentioned the adversities they went through as a squad. But for me, man, I have to look at EG again. It's just not good enough.
It's
players
fair.
of that quality, we expect so much more. You have Enable. I hate to call him out. One of my good friends. I live with the guy, for God's sake.
Can't go 0-7.
0-7 in a game 5 against Epsilon.
Look kind of similar, too.
Wow, Rich.
All right, you know what? All cuddles, love, and kisses to get things started. Everybody agreeing. It's just going to be 1 point all around. Benson, Maven, enjoy your 1 point. Now, let's move on over to Search or Destroy. Gentlemen, time to pick sides, offense or defense. First topic has to do with Team Envyus. They have been a shadow of their former selves. They were on fire in the first 2 weeks of Stage 1, sitting atop of Division B. They were a hot pick for CWL Atlanta, and they did perform well, but not good enough because they only finished 4th in the tournament. It seems some of those struggles may have transferred over into the final 2 weeks of Stage 1. So here's the scenario. Offense or defense, Team Envyus is in trouble. Maven, gonna be your turn to start things off.
Thank you, Rich. I'm gonna go on offense. They're gonna be just fine. I mean, look at how the year started for them. It was abysmal. They were garbage to start off the year. They finally started to click in the first 2 weeks. They had the 4th place finish, which I don't think you can doubt. That was a great performance from them, considering where they were coming from. Did they have a rough week? Yeah. No, it was scary. It wasn't fun to watch as someone picking them to win the previous event, but they'll be fine. They'll get through it. The team's too talented. Slasher's one of the best players in the game. There's no way they don't turn it around. It's just it'll be a blip on the radar by the end of the year.
All right, cool. You're not going to run out of time there either. Now, Benson, go ahead and jump in with your rebuttal.
I'm so glad So glad you stuck with your guns there, Clint.
I doubled down, Ben.
You did. You called Envy to win an event, and, well, the last week made you look pretty stupid. Let's be honest. They did not look good at all. It took Slasher dropping 55 kills in maps just to give them wins. He has been absurdly good. Yes, we can sit here and debate his abilities all day, but Envy's in trouble. They make playoffs, congratulations to them, but barely. It took a Game 5, Round 11 win versus LG. They could well have gone into that final day needing a win, and that would have been scary because they lost to Epsilon as well. That team, I think they need changes. I've seen too many players get ripped up headings they shouldn't have done.
You're out of time. All right, and coming out of that, Benson, I'm going to be awarding you 2 points. I agree with your argument, and you're able to do it all while calling Maven dumb. So that's going to be 2 points there. Bance, Jerd, Mad Cat, Tommy make up the team Splyce, and this team has been disappointing. We all had high hopes for them earlier in the season, and they were starting to look like they could win another NA event, but as of late, they just haven't looked good. Comms, chemistry, and overall gameplay, it's not clicking. When that happens, there's only one solution to ponder, so players, offense or defense, Splyce needs to make a team change. And Benson, I'm going to let you start this one because you're from the UK.
Thanks, Rich. I'm going to take the offensive on this one, and here's why. Yes, Splyce have looked pretty poor, and I mean, let's be honest, very poor. But for me, I think it's more a role thing here, okay? They finished second at the first event, and players, correct me if I'm wrong, you got complacent, you got lazy, and I think it showed in some of the games we've seen. Don't get me wrong, Tommy dropping 50 kills for Els is great and all individually, but as a team, something isn't there, and a team change is the absolute last thing this squad needs. This is 4 of the best players in Europe, which can get through this. They still have time as well, and I want to see that practice.
That's going to be it for your time there, Benson. Very well said. Maven, let's see what you can string together in your argument.
This roster will not be the same after Stage 1 playoffs. We will not see the same roster at Stage 2. Ben, you kind of nailed it while you were trying to argue against it, but it is a role thing. The problem this team has had is they do not have a solid main AR. Whether it's Tommy running it, whether it's Mad Cat running it, neither of them is getting the job done well enough that I think they're suited for the role. If I were the players, if I was someone like a Jerd or a Bance, I'd be sending DMs to Rated. I'd somehow be sending him cash to steal him away from Red Reserve. I hate to say it. I love the team. They need a change.
So who do you replace?
Who
do you replace?
Yeah, well,
who do you replace?
Wait, are we changing the show format?
I'm asking you a simple question. I'm asking you a simple. Who do you replace?
Tommy. With a
that should deduct you points.
Rated for Tommy.
That should deduct you points. Have you been watching any Call of Duty
Rated
this year?
for Tommy.
And you think that makes Splyce a better team? If
That's
you
what I would do.
right,
Yes,
you
you
think
do.
they are,
Order here. All right, I actually need to deliberate this a little bit. Benson, I tend to give you the edge in most EU debates. I do. You're kind of our expert.
I'm practically North American at this point, Rich.
Benson
He's
underscore
so
NA.
far from an EU expert. That's Momo now.
And you know what? That argument is going to kind of show it. I don't agree with what Maven said, so I'm going to knock off a couple points about Tommy. But overall, I'm going to give Maven 2 points here for his argument. I think a team change is definitely needed. Role's definitely going to be a problem. I don't think this Splyce roster is going to be able to stick together. And now I believe that means we're all tied up. Let's move along to our next topic. Speaking of the UK, time to put our attention on the Brummies, CWL Birmingham. The next big event takes place this weekend, and we have our pools. Some storylines, Rise Nation looking to repeat. Will the EU home field advantage lead to an EU win? Red Reserve, Optic, TK, LG, FaZe look for redemption. Rise Nation is the favorite, but it's really any team that could be hoisting up the trophy at the end of Championship Sunday. Now, you may be thinking, I'm going to ask who's going to win, but that seems way too easy. No, I do not want to make this easy. What I want to know is a dark horse to win the event, to make things interesting. You know what? I'm going to let Benson start this one off.
Okay. Dark horse for CWL Birmingham. Red Reserve. Yeah, I'm gonna say Red Reserve. They're at home. They have home field advantage. Clint, Rich, you guys are probably both still, well, I guess Clint wasn't. But Rich, you were probably still in diapers last time Europe had success in Europe in Call of Duty. That's way back
now.
2011.
Rich still wears diapers.
Probably does. But for me, this is a big event for Europe. After some struggling teams in the Pro League, I think this is where Red Reserve can come out and really solidify that last event wasn't a fluke, because they've been so consistent over the past few years, and yet still people look at them and say, they're average, they're not that good. Nonsense. They beat every single top-seeded team last event. They're now home field advantage. I will tell you, the English fans will want them to win. They are Europe's best hopes. My dreams for a European win in Europe lie with them. Can they win the event? I mean, Rise Nation, they're the clear number one, right? I think that's fair to say. Clint, I'd be amazed if you try and disagree with me on that. But Red Reserve, they're right there. They can do it.
Okay, so wait, Maven, before you go, I'm going to award 1 point to Benson, because for some reason, every time he talks about the EU, the accent just comes back out of nowhere. Hunt. All right, Maven, you can go now.
Thanks.
But you're now losing, by the way.
Awesome.
By 1 point.
I want to bash you for picking Red, since they just got second at the last event, and obviously calling them a dark horse is a bit odd, but my pick is also questionable, because I'm going to pick FaZe. They're at the top of Division B right now, but they're coming off a top 12 at the previous event. They have not won an event since AW Season 3 playoffs. For those of you at home, it's been 917 days since FaZe has won an event. They need a win, man. Back when they last won, I had hair on my head. Ben had more of an accent. Rich was homeless. Merc was still competing. I mean, there have been so many things that have happened in that span of time. When I actually looked up the number, I was like, dear God. But this FaZe team right now, I almost think they're similar to Rise in a way. They are a tough matchup for teams because they don't really have a weak game mode. They don't really have a weak player by roles. Priest is one of the best flexes in the game. You have two of the top subs in the game. And replays, we know the intangibles he brings, and he's a competent AR. They don't really have a weakness. I think I expect big things from this team. I think about the last tournament, Ben. They get knocked out by Rise. They get knocked out by Red. I mean, that's tough. That is tough for anyone. Many people fell victim to similar scenarios. So I know they're tops of Division B, but FaZe is my dark horse to win this event.
It's a strange one, but I mean, I can see why you would go with that. As you mentioned, they lost to the number 1 and number 2 team from the last event. And the point you bring up about Priest is brilliant. This is a player who is so used to just flying at people from last year. All of a sudden, he slowed down his pace so much. His improvement has been tenfold. He really has been phenomenal. But you're wrong. I don't think FaZe is going to have success when it comes to an open event. There's too many teams I feel like they're vulnerable to, right? And I think that's
FaZe is winning the event.
Clint.
FaZe is winning the event. Priest,
I don't want to throw
the
you
young
under the
god
bus,
is going to
but
come from the ground into the heavens and dominate the Italian stallion Zuma. He's dropping 40 every map. And attach. Don't let me down, because I asked you when the last time you won was, because I wanted to make sure.
Maven. You have made some elaborate and very broad and kind of crazy predictions. Thank you, Rich. You've made some downright stupid predictions.
FaZe Clan are winning.
They're not going to win. If you go back and you take a look at percentage-wise, who's been more correct on this show, I've been winning. Because you're saying some stupid stuff.
I was gonna.
That is
Nathan was about to win the show too. It was such a well-constructed argument, but he has to ruin everything. He ruins his own argument. He just has to come in. He's a self-destructive human being, and he's crumbled his argument. It was so beautifully constructed. He put it into the frame of time. Anyone could understand it. But Ben, I'm just gonna give you 500 points. I give you 500 points, and you're going to be our winner right now. Go ahead and put on your A40 Astro Gaming headsets, because it's time now for the Smack Talk Winner Circle presented by Astro Gaming. Benson,
did I win?
Shut up! Your 30 seconds start now, Benson.
Thank you very much, Rich. I mentioned this earlier on in the show, and I'm going to say it again because this is how upset I am. Evil Geniuses, your performance in the Pro League was not good enough. I'm great friends with all these players. I have a lot of respect for them. And if there's a team you would expect to be able to close out such a high percentage chance of qualifiers, it's that team. They have so much talent, and it just got completely wasted. You would never expect that many chokes to come out of those 4 players. Ever. To be losing searches in the fashion they were is not good enough. This is a team which absolutely should be in Stage 1 playoffs. They played phenomenal. They answered all their critics, all their haters. But they upset everyone. They let down all of their fans.
All right,
including me.
Taking it away now. I will say, I remember we had an opportunity to actually chat with them before the first event went down. They made me believe. I don't believe anymore. Make me believe again, please, EG. But that's going to be it for this episode. Shots were traded, and CWL was debated. We're looking forward to watching the madness in Birmingham. Be sure to tune in. For Benson and Maven, I'm Rich. GG's to everyone.